Hey YouTube, how's it going? So my name's Adam Williams and I just want to welcome you to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Powerslide Zoom 80 Pros. Now before I go any further, I know that there are a ton of reviews out there for a ton of skates. So I'm going to try and put my spin on this. I'm going to try and give you the most informative review I can. This isn't a paid video, this isn't a sponsored video, this is truly my thoughts. I bought the skates myself, I chose them, it's all on me. Let's get into it. This is the review of the Powerslide Zoom 80 Pro. So, I'm going to break this down into sections. So, the sections I have are my first impressions, breakdown of the skate, the comfort of the skate, the performance of the skates, and my overall thoughts on these. So, my first impressions. Now getting these, I have to say that I was really happy with the way they looked. Now they are very similar to the old classic Throne. I mentioned this in a previous video when I first got them, but they're very reminiscent of that, and I really like that. They're simple, they're just black and white skates, there's nothing fancy about them, and I really like that. Now out of the box, I did my usual, went round and tightened all the bolts up. Now we know every skate takes a little bit of a breaking in period, but these were really comfortable out of the box. No kind of significant problems or anything like that. They just skated really well. And I guess the only thing at that point that I'd noticed was that the skate felt just a little bit soft. Now I've never had a pair of big wheels, or at least not since I was a kid, so I just chalked that up to not having skated big wheels before and maybe that just being a thing. But on the whole, my first impressions of the skates, pretty decent. Like for the money, they were £145 and I got them from locoskates.com. Yeah, I couldn't really complain for that kind of money. So the breakdown. So I'm going to break these skates down into their individual pieces and I'm going to take you through all the components that make this skate possible. So starting with the boot, we have a fiberglass reinforced plastic boot. The cuff is bolted onto the boot itself, so that's not removable, but not a problem. I think this is a good thing because the amount of time that I've lost cuff bolts, it's just ruined skates so many times for me. This is a good thing. Now that material, whilst they say it's reinforced, I'll have to admit, I found them to be very soft. Now I took a tumble a couple of days ago, and just to prove how soft these skates are, I don't know if you can see, but here, this it's just been eaten up, and that was one fall. And it wasn't a bad fall, it was just a bit of a scuff. So that just goes to show how soft the plastic is of these boots. But I wouldn't let that discourage you because soft materials aren't always the worst. Now there were some side effects to the material of the boot. Unfortunately, I never managed to get these done up tight enough. I always felt that there was a lack of support and that I was always falling forward because of them. And I think that comes down to the material being as soft as it is. And also just one thing to mention, I did lose a 45-degree strap off the side of my skate. For some reason, the bolt went missing. I don't know when it fell out. It must have fallen out at some point when I was traveling. But yeah, it turned up to a skate during the week and yeah, couldn't skate because the bolt was missing. Thankfully, the strap itself was still attached, so that was good. But yeah, bolts falling off, not the best. Now moving on to the liner. We've got a MyFit liner. Now, let's be honest, MyFit liners, they just don't let you down. They're super duper comfy. And according to the Powerslide website, the liner in the Powerslide Zoom 80 Pros is the MyFit basic liner. But if that's their basic liner, I'd be happy with any of their liners because I haven't had a single issue. They're really comfy and out of the box. I didn't have too many issues when I first put them on. They weren't too stiff or the padding wasn't too hard. They broke in super easy and now they're like slippers. Honestly, these skates, they're one of the most comfortable skates I've had in quite a while. I guess the only slight issue, and it is very superficial, is this. You see this tag just here? This always sticks up. Now, I did try and glue this down with a bit of super glue, which worked for a little while, but eventually that's come unstuck. That's probably the only thing that I can say about these liners that isn't good. Other than that, these are great. Now for the frames. So the frames that come with these skates are the Powerslide Elite frame. They are a combination of casted and CNC'd aluminium, and the version that come with my skates are 243mm long. Now, I don't actually have anything to go off when it comes to aluminium frames. I have never skated a pair of aluminium frames. But the things that I noticed off the bat are probably one good thing and one slightly negative thing. So the slightly negative thing is they tap. You can hear it even now. They're a bit tappy. Now, you don't really notice it when you're skating along too much unless you go over some bumpy ground, and I'm sure it makes absolutely zero to the performance of the skate itself. But for me, the fine details and things are what are important, and it got to me a little bit at times, especially when I'm stood still and maybe tap my foot on the floor or move my foot and I can hear that tapping. Now, saying all of this, I'm pretty certain that that's most probably something that all aluminium frames suffer with, just because of the nature of the material. So I'm not going to pay too much attention to that. But one thing that is good about these frames is the power transfer just seems really, really good. Like, it does feel that what you put in, you don't lose through the frame itself. So yeah, I quite like them. I'm really interested to try some other frames on there to see how they kind of work alongside the boot. But yeah, on the whole, these frames are pretty decent, and I'll definitely have a version of them, you know, in my kind of arsenal of different skate parts. Now onto the wheels, we have some Powerslide Hurricanes. Now these are 80mm wheels, they're rated at 85A in the durometer, and let's be honest, stock wheels are never the best. Having said that, these aren't too bad. There was a couple of things like the shiny slick coating that come on all new wheels. I found that took quite some time to wear off. With other wheels, I've always found that, you know, a couple of skates in and that's all gone. So you get rid of that weird kind of traction issues you get at the beginning of new wheels. Having said that, they do ride pretty well. They are quite soft. They seem quite a comfortable ride of a wheel. So they're not all bad, but kind of on the whole, I will be changing them out as quickly as I can. Like, as soon as I've got the funds to do it, I'll be getting rid of them. Because on slides, they degraded really quickly. I found that one evening of practicing power stops really took quite a savage hit on the wheel. And also, again, I know this is superficial, but I don't like black wheels. So I'm gonna swap them out. But you know, as a first wheel for the skate, I actually can't complain. They were pretty decent. They got me rolling. They've been pretty comfortable, but you know, like I say, they're stock wheels, so they're not really up to much. And finally, the bearings. Well, there isn't really much to say about these bearings. They're wicked ABEC 5s. They're good bearings. I've got them in my Aeons, and the same goes for these. Like, took a couple of skates to wear in. To begin with, they felt a bit stiff and a bit sluggish, but after a couple of skates and they'd broken in, they skate super well. They're reliable, they're fast. There's not much to say about them. They're good bearings. Now, I did say that I want to change the wheels. I will probably invest in some higher grade bearings, so going to look at maybe some Swiss bearings or at least some ceramic bearings to go in there just to see what they're like. But again, I can't complain with these bearings, and even if I do swap them out, these will probably go into a new set of wheels anyway, so yeah, wicked bearings, nothing to complain about there. So after all of that, let's talk about the comfort of this skate. Now, as I said before when we were doing the breakdown of the skate, the liners are super comfy. They are really, really good liners. So first and foremost, cannot fault that. Once they're broken in, they literally feel like a slipper. They are great, great liners. Now the combination of the liner and the boot, again, it's just a really comfy combination. I haven't had any hot spots, I've had no pain anywhere. They've just been a really, really decent skate in that regard. But there was one thing, I guess, that's kind of a bit of a running trend with this skate, and that is that I just can't get the support I need. And I think that's down to the materials, if I'm honest. The boot is quite soft and the liner doesn't have a lot of rigidity to it. So I think that leads to a skate which, whilst very, very comfortable, it isn't the most supportive skate. So I was finding that if I did things up too tight, they would start to hurt my feet and my feet might go numb. And if I just set them to where the pain didn't happen, they weren't too tight, I just couldn't get that tightness. Now this leads quite nicely onto the performance of the skate. So I did find that when I am skating around, I do constantly feel like I'm falling forwards. And like I said, I did take a tumble in them, which did take a chunk out of the boot a little bit. And that came from trying to toe rolling these. They're just not supportive enough for that. I just felt that I'm always falling forwards, and as soon as I tried to get on that front wheel, I really did fall forwards. Yeah, I hit the ground. So they don't have that kind of level of support. So if you're looking for a skate that you could do the more technical aspects of free skating in, you might need to consider that. Also, I did find that I couldn't really sprint in these skates. Again, it comes down to the lack of support. I just felt that whilst the frame was transferring the energy really well, when I go to skate off the mark and really put the pedal down, that kind of squishiness of the falling forward motion, that just ruined that power transfer, which meant that I couldn't get those classic Bill Stoppard style sprints in. I think all in all, a big point for the performance is the softness of this boot. It does kind of make that a little bit more difficult to get those real kind of performance-based sprints or do the more kind of technical toe rolls and stuff like that. But then saying that, like, they still perform really well. You just have to use them in the right way. Like, these skates, they turn really well. Now, I don't think the frame is rockered. I can't find anything anywhere that says that they are. So based on that, you wouldn't expect them to turn as well as others. But I find these skates really easy to turn in. They've got a really good turning point. I've done a bit of cone skating in them, and I haven't had any issues in trying to weave in and out of the cones. When learning slides, they slide really well, so it's not all loss. I think the biggest thing with this skate is they're just a super fun skate to skate. Whilst there are some performance issues in the sense of, you know, they are a bit soft, I can't say that I've been out on them and haven't had fun. All the things that I've been learning, they've skated really well through that, and they just perform. You just have to be careful. If you know what you like in a skate, then probably worthwhile kind of looking into this. But as a skate for someone who's first starting out, performance-wise, you just can't beat them. I think they are really, really good performance for the money. Now, what are my overall thoughts on this skate? Well, I guess first and foremost is the comfort. They are a super comfortable skate. I would happily go out and do longer miles in this skate, and I plan to. Once the weather clears up, I plan to get some longer skates and actually look at doing, 10, 15, 20 kilometers in these. And I know, like, hand on heart, that these skates are going to skate really well in that situation because they're just a comfortable skate. But I would say these skates are more comfort than performance. For those that are looking for true performance, these might not be the skate for you. But if you are looking for comfort, 100%, I really, really recommend these. They're super comfortable. I would also recommend get yourself some wax laces for these. You want some laces that are long enough that you can lace up the boot and you can also wrap around your cuff. I think all the things I said about the falling forward motions and that the boot was a bit soft, I think that this would really remedy that. That would then put the pressure in the right places to ensure that you get the support you need. And also, keep an eye on the bolts. Make sure that you go around these skates and check everything's tight periodically. I've already lost one bolt and I've only had these skates for a couple of months. So in future, I will be checking all the bolts on a regular basis. And if you get a pair of these, I recommend you do that too. Now, my final thoughts, I'm going to say that these are aimed at the more beginner big wheelers rather than the more intermediate or expert big wheelers, just because they are lacking in performance slightly. But on the whole, these are a great skate, and take it as you will. I love them. I'm going to keep skating them. Probably going to get some new frames for them. But yeah, if you've got a pair of these skates, let me know your thoughts on them, because I really like them. I will recommend them to people and say, if you're getting into this for £145, you can't knock them. So that's it for my review of the Powerslide Zoom 80 Pro. I really, really hope that you enjoyed this and you get something from this. It's been a ton of fun making it. And you know what? I really like these skates, so I'm going to skate them some more. Anyway, massive thanks for sticking around and watching this video. As always, I just want to say Thank you ever so much for watching this, and if you did like it, hit that like button. And also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe. It really does mean the world to me. But until next time, I just want to say, stay safe, keep rolling, and I will see you in the next video.